So the name of the show says it all. How to get a job in Seattle with Paul Anderson of Prolango. He's a career consultant right here tonight, and we are very excited to be starting this show off, Paul.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So what's a career consultant do?
Lots of things. They look at primarily what the job seeker is doing wrong, number one, in terms of coaching them. Second thing is they help them create a strategy, and the third thing is maybe help them come up with some direction. A lot of people don't know what they want to do, so our job is to really ask them the tough questions and then leverage our resources and connections to help them move them forward.
Yeah, not only you're a career consultant privately, but you also write for the Seattle Times.
Yes, I'm a freelance writer with NorthwestJobs.com, which is a Seattle Times company, and I share a column called Higher Ground, which is basically how do you get the edge in the job-seeking market.
Well, that's what so many people want to know because, I mean, I know that the unemployment rate is 9%, but the feel of it is twice that.
Yeah, it really feels like that. I mean, you have a good stay-at-home moms that have never job searched that now they're entering the market. You have people that can't get those management jobs anymore that they are now competing, you know, for your typical project manager jobs. You have the underemployed, you have the long-term unemployed, and you have folks that maybe are graduating school and now coming in. So you have a good number of people that are not filing for unemployment, but they're still in the job market.
So why would someone need a career consultant's services? Why wouldn't you just go to the newspaper? You know, there's 1,000 jobs in the newspaper or 100 jobs in the newspaper and just go send resumes out.
A career consultant can shorten your transition time dramatically simply because they've done the hard work of talking to HR folks, hiring managers, and saying what has changed. You know, the interesting thing is, Stan, the market's constantly evolving. And you know, you can try to keep up with that, but you know, your job is you're a video producer, you're a project manager, you're a nurse, you're a doctor. Your job is not to go figure out what's going on in the job market. That's what we do. And then our job is to then teach that to the candidates, and I do it through public seminars. We do it through this TV show now, through NorthwestJobs.com. So we try to tell people, here's what's changed, here's what you need to know.
I want to follow up on something that you said. You talk to HR managers. I mean, the HR managers of different companies are willing to talk to you?
Absolutely.
What's kind of like a typical conversation with something like that?
I tell them, you know, tell me some juicy stories that gets, you know, what would make you blacklist a candidate? Blacklist a candidate. What's a great candidate? What do you want to see more of? And one reason they love candidates that I train is they're like, you're preparing them to be better job seekers. They give me better looking resumes. They interview better. They approach us better. They don't spam us. So they actually are willing to make their environment a better place.
I'm going to follow up on that blacklist term because, you know, you really piqued my curiosity here, but I want to go into some things just specifically. On your website, which is prolango.com, you talk about career search optimization. Career search optimization. What is that?
How do you find the career you're looking for fast? Here's an interesting thing, Stan. The longer you're unemployed, the less marketable you become. So the question is, how can you optimize? They somehow think there's something wrong with you. If you haven't been hired in 2 years, they're like, what do we not know that other companies do know? I mean, if he was good, he would have been taken by now. Now, some HR people understand with the economy, it's taken a good 6 to 1 year, but 2 years becomes very tough. My toughest clients are the ones that have hit the 2-year mark. And I have some clients seeing me maybe a 5 or 8 year mark where they haven't worked, but that's your stay-at-home mom categories. But your typical unemployed person is looking at a year or 2 years.
You've talked about stay-at-home moms, and then they are re-entering the workforce or entering it for the first time. Can the stay-at-home mom take the skills that she had in running a household and turn them into job skills?
Not traditionally speaking. If they have previous corporate experience, they really have to play on that card. If they don't, they have to look at volunteering at some organizations where they're not paying them, but they're still acquiring that skill set. But you know, because I've managed 2 kids, you know, I can manage your employees. Well, it's very true.
Yeah.
That's not going to fly with most companies. Not because you can't do the job, because there's so many other people that are proven and tested and already have a well-versed resume that I don't want to take a chance on you.
Wow, that is so interesting to me because I think that a mom or a dad, a stay-at-home parent, is one of the most skillful persons I've ever seen because they're able to do so many things at the same time.
As a parent myself, I am overwhelmed, you know, by, you know, I have a 2-year-old and I have a newborn, and I have a lot of respect for parents. I mean, what they go through, the sleepless nights and managing 2 separate tantrums at the same time, you know, that's the best skills you could ever acquire.
So while And HR managers are not parents? Is that what you're saying? All right, well, let's go on to something else. Okay. We got an awful lot of stuff to cover, so we're going to cover as much as we can. And I want to go to this next slide because behind it, with people looking for a job, I mean, are you looking for jobs online with little to no success? You know, you go to Monster, you go to Indeed.com, you go to all of these different job source sites, and you just see job after job after job.
Yeah, there's a lot of jobs. I mean, Simply Hired right now has 5.8 million jobs posted across the country. Now, here's an interesting thing, Stan. Like, Department of Labor says 20% of all jobs physically make it to this traditional advertising form where you get to see it. There's a good number of jobs that just never make it to your traditional job boards. But here's an interesting thing why applying online isn't working for most people. It's because everybody right now has access to those same jobs. So, you know, in 2006, when you had very few competition, it was okay, because if you sent a resume, maybe another, I mean, Eddie Bauer told it to me. They said, Paul, in 2007, we got 55 resumes. We pulled strings to get 55 referrals for resumes for an administrative assistant, and then we rotate these guys out once a year. So in 2008, we got 900 applications for that same role. Wow. 900 applications.
From 55 to 900.
In just 1 year.
That's
so when
amazing.
You're looking at an opening, you are competing. I mean, the smallest number of resumes a company told me they get is 300. The largest, which was the Tacoma Public Utilities and Microsoft, they get 1,600 applications for just one opening.
Oh my gosh, how could you possibly distinguish yourself?
Absolutely. That's the challenge. That's why I tell people applying online is only going to lengthen your job search process. There's way more efficient ways of doing it. That's why I created a seminar called Career Search Optimization. How do you optimize finding what you're looking for without, you know, being defeated in the marketplace?
Wow. Okay. So then the next thing is are you wondering why HR isn't responding to your application? I mean, my gosh, I'm this absolutely fantastic candidate for any job that you would have at that company. Yep. HR, why don't you call me back?
Go to Costco, buy printer paper. They come in stacks of 400. It's about yay tall. Now, a good, you know, you have 800 resumes, so it's this long. And then double the pages, because you know, your typical resume might have 2 pages. So you're dealing with a stack of this high of applications. So when HR isn't responding to your applications, not because they're disrespectful or rude, you know, there's few people here and there, but it's primarily because they're not even seeing your application. Chances are you either got it to them late, you didn't have the right keywords on your resume, you weren't utilizing the right scoring mechanisms that they've put into their applicant tracking systems today, so you're just not being noticed. And you're sending in resume after resume after resume and saying, what is wrong with me? Do I need more education? Do I need more schooling? Am I too old? Am I too young? And you start to create these self-limiting beliefs because you think there's something wrong internally. Nothing is wrong with you. It's the way you're job searching. That's where it can become more efficient.
Well, I would say, should I print it out on blue paper so it will stand out and send it in? But if I'm going online, I'd have to tell them an instruction, print out on blue paper.
You know, it's interesting you bring that up. There was a guy that got a job at Microsoft as a PR manager. And how he got a job is he created a box, and he put a jack in the box with his face on it, sent it over to Microsoft. Now, you know, this was previous to 9/11, right? They probably would have thought there's a bomb in there if he sent it today. But they opened it, and it literally comes up with his resume, him holding his resume with his face, and that got him a job, right? So what it shows, though, is if you find ways to stand out, and I don't suggest you do it that way, but if you do find ways to stand out, absolutely, because today with the good 900 resumes, you're just not going to be seen.
Man, so it really is tough. Okay, so here was something that I saw on your website on Prolingo.com, and I was just shocked, and I thought, this can't be right. Do you know that 85% of positions are recruited by word of mouth? Is that really true?
When you have all these resumes, I'm asking hiring managers, so what are you doing with all this? And they're like, Paul, we're overwhelmed. I'm not a recruiter. So what's easy for me is to just go talk to my network and say, hey, who do you guys know you can vouch for? I mean, we asked people, why would you come to the Prolingo Career Mixer? I mean, you don't want more resumes, right?
Right.
They're saying, no, Paul, because I want to come meet the real person. I'm either going to meet the candidate I'm looking for, or I'm going to meet someone that knows the people I'm looking for, and I'm going to ask them. Because if I can get legitimate, real person referrals, that makes my job as a screener much more efficient than looking through resumes and potentially missing some really good talent.
So these HR managers are telling you they're looking for good talent, and they're just not willing to go through the hundreds and hundreds of resumes that they have. and unless they use some kind of outside system that helps them get to the resumes. So then, and we're going to talk about this in another show,
sure,
about resumes, but I guess it gets down to personal networking. Is that right?
It really does. And especially in Seattle. Have you seen Meet the Parents?
Yes.
With Robert De Niro, and you had that circle of trust. That is Seattle. If you enter that circle of trust, you're in the network. But it's so hard to get inside. And a lot of people, what they don't get when they're a job seeker initially is they go to traditional career experts, which I'm a little embarrassed about my field, Stan. The first thing that our experts teach people, not me, but the experts, WorkSource, career books, resume writers, career coaches, they say the first thing you need to do is elevator pitch people and just tell them, here's who I am, what I do, what I'm looking for, in 30 to 60 seconds, get their attention. That does not get you into the circle of trust in Seattle. That puts you outside, that keeps you outside because you're viewed as a salesperson, very self-directed, all about you. And that's not what people are about. Relationships are about two-way communication. It's about mutual respect, mutual benefit. And when you come out saying, here's what I'm looking for, they're like, well, I don't care. I don't even know who you are. I'm not going to do favors for you. So a lot of people that are saying, well, I'm sending resume, but I am networking and it's still not working. You could be networking incorrectly as well.
So what do? You go to bars?
Well,
there are some fringe benefits.
Yeah. The first thing you have to recognize is, like, number one is an attitude. When someone is at a networking event, you got to ask yourself, did they come there to get my resume, or did they come there for their own objective? So if the second is true, which is most likely, find out what that objective is. What is that person looking for? Do they come here to meet a possible client? Are they looking for information? Are they looking for resources? And find a way to deliver. Right? Kind of start contributing. And you might say, Paul, well, I need something right now. I don't have time to be helping others. I actually had someone tell me this. We set up this career mixer, and the gentleman comes over and he says, what's the purpose of this? And we said, so people can build relationships, help each other out. He's like, I don't need friends right now. I need a job. Once I get a job, then I'll go look for friends. The guy had it completely backwards. And I told him, Ray, if you go on with that attitude, the friends are who's helping friends get jobs. So you gotta actually, if you are looking for a job, you do have to take the time to build friends. And the way you do it is by contributing to others. Once you contribute to them and you win them over, there's something called reciprocity. They want to help you back.
Well, you said something earlier then. You said maybe go volunteer, or would you also tell someone who is in a career change, or someone who's been a manager, who's made a lot of money, but to go intern for somebody?
No, you have to play your cards right. I mean, depending on where you are in your career, certain people volunteering makes sense. Stay-at-home moms, interns, people that are making a career change. But you have to strategically volunteer. I mean, you can hand out food. Is that increasing, your skill set on your resume? So you have to ask yourself.
Well, if you're going to apply to McDonald's, perhaps.
That's true.
Yeah.
So if you're looking to, maybe I'm going to be a communications manager, maybe you can do communication, PR, interning for a nonprofit you believe in. So you're helping their cause, and you're building your resume, and you're also building up connections. And so many good people have found from the board of directors that oversee that, because you're proving yourself. You're showing them what you're capable of doing, and then they can send you out to possible leads. But if you're more established in your career, no, you definitely volunteering could take you a step back, because I'm going to ask myself as a hiring manager, why don't you just come apply at the company? Does that make sense? So volunteering can send the wrong signals sometimes.
So it sounds like then that job seekers need to just be smarter about everything that they do.
They got to be very strategic today.
We're going to take a very short break. We're very fortunate to have with us today on how to get a job in Seattle, Paul Anderson, who is he's a career consultant. Go to the website, prolango.com. You're going to learn an awful lot more. But I strongly encourage you also to go to northwestjobs.com. It's on the Seattle Times. He's also a writer for the Seattle Times, part of Higher Ground. And if you want to get a job in Seattle, perhaps the thing to do is to be just a little bit smarter about your search. And that's what Paul's talking about. So, all right. You've talked about a career mixer. And I'm kind of curious, what do you mean a career mixer? I mean, that's where it seems like I go to find a job.
Yeah, so you have job fairs that are traditional. You're going to have the military there, Enterprise Rent-A-Car, State Farm Insurance, and you have hundreds of people standing in line with stacks of resumes that their spouses said, you better go hand these out to as many people as you can before you come home, or I'm not opening the door.
I'm hearing some attitude here, Paul.
I mean, it's amazing how many, and you just see their faces, and they look depressed, they look desperate. So I said, how can we create a different environment? And I was inspired by some great events in town. And I said, what if we could create an event that is resume-less? So most events have resumes. I said, no, let's create a resume-less event. So there is no resumes. Maybe you can bring your business cards. I'm going to bring in hiring managers in different companies. I'm going to bring other professionals that are looking. And I want you to develop relationships, because in Seattle, everyone knows a good 150 people or more. And if you can develop a really good friendship with them, they can become possible referral sources to these companies you want to work for, especially if you're strategic about the type of people you meet and the conversations you have with them. So career mixers, you bring the best of the best. I mean, you have your Amazon there, Sound Transit, Boeing, University of Washington, Microsoft, you top employers there. You also have top candidates that are looking for cutting edge relationships, cutting edge companies, and you have them mingling in a
Actually, we have a graphic that shows some of the companies that are there. I mean, there's Path and Intel and US Bank and Nordstrom, and I'm just, you know, and these are companies that are likely to be at a career mixer that you're hosting.
That's right, and we do a monthly basis.
And what are these companies looking for? Are they looking for the entry-level people, or are they looking for people all over the board? Or?
I've had companies look for CEOs. I've had
a career
companies
mixer?
at a career mixer, at CFOs. I mean, you look at the people that are coming into the career mixer, they're very well dressed, Stan. They are mid-career to late career. You have nurses in there, you have accountants, you have finance professionals, software developers, technical writers. I mean, these aren't, you know, you don't have any blue collar or hourly. You have most of your corporate guys, and what they're coming in is with the attitude of building relationships with each other. So these companies are looking for both, number one, talent or potential referral sources from these people, because they might meet you and you might know someone that can benefit from the advertising, and they're going to have you basically tell your friends about them.
So if I don't go in and carry in a stack of resumes, do I go in with a thumb drive saying, hey, my resume's on here?
No, because your resume is about you, and remember, it's not about that. You're going in to develop friendships. You want to go build relationships. There's an appropriate time for a resume, but become their friends first. Once you're their friends, then they say, Stan, show me a resume. They really mean it. When they say, do you have a resume, they're just being polite. They didn't come there to get your resume. They came there to prospect for top talent, and top talent doesn't behave desperately.
So how does top talent behave at a career mixer in front of Intel?
Top talent would find out, you know, number one, they would research Intel in advance. They would find out which hiring managers of Intel are going to that, because we published a list of attendees. They would find out what positions they're looking for, and they would go in with the attitude of, I want to learn more about the roles beyond what you have advertised, because I myself might be interested. I might know others that are interested. So they're going to go in to be a resource to that company. Desperate job seeker goes in, says, I don't know what PACCAR does, but you know what? They're an employer. They're wearing a red name tag. Let me go up to them. Hey, PACCAR, so what is it that you do? Did you know 100 people talked to PACCAR at one of my mixers? 90 of them had nothing. They knew nothing about the company. And then they handed their resumes over anyway. They said, we don't know what you do, but can you just take my resume? They came in with the purpose of literally just giving. And what do you think the recruiter did with those resumes that evening?
Yeah, well, I think they went in
before she left. Before she left the mixer, dumped them in the trash can.
Wow.
Yeah, because it wasn't what she was looking for.
You know, I kind of, it sounds like what you're saying is to, if you're a job seeker, is to be sure to walk in the shoes of the person who is the hiring manager or in the company. And the company may have multiple personalities though, right?
That's right.
So how do you find the person with the personality that knows the answers to your questions?
Yeah, I mean, the research is key. You know, career mixers is ideally an environment where you're going in and developing a strategic relationship. But if you're looking for a job, career mixers are probably not where you're going to find a job. Now, we have some people finding jobs that way, but they get lucky. How you're going to find a job is you have to research, maybe use tools like LinkedIn, research actual decision makers at the company, set up meetings with them and say, I realize you guys are reorging, and I noticed the Starbucks logo change. You're going to be going into new territories outside of coffee. I'm curious what those are, because I'm interested in what your company is doing, and basically become part of their life. Become part of the conversation. They want to hire passionate people. They want to hire engaged people, Stan, because passion's infectious. It infects everybody around them, and they get their employees all pumped up if they bring in other sharp talent like that. So find out what they're looking for, become part of that game, and then start to say, here's where I'm aligned with you. Here's how what I've done with my resume is aligned with where you're going. I'd love to consider an opportunity with you guys.
How do you know all this stuff?
How do I know all this? I made it my passion. You know, it's interesting, Stan. I physically, my wife and I, we were doing IT consulting, and we were very successful at it. an opportunity comes to go to Ireland for this big contract. So I said, wow, I'm going to get international experience on my resume. This can only upgrade it, right? So I go over to Ireland, do this 2-month contract. I come back, and I'm like, we have an opportunity to go anywhere in the country. Where do we want to go? Well, we were in the IT field, so they said California is going to be your best market. You got your Silicon Valley and everything. I did not know any of these job search skills, so we flew into California and could not find a job to save our lives. Stan, we drove up and down the I-5 corridor, mass mailing resumes to every opening we could see on Monster, Indeed, anything. I could not find a job. And we got to a point where we burned through our resources, and we went from we could no longer stay in hotels to my wife and I are staying in a rest stop on I-5, the most unsafest place in the country. And we don't have enough money to drive around anymore, and we have a prepaid cell phone, and we're hoping one of the recruiters is going to call that, and we would just not get that phone to ring. And it was so sad. We'd go across the freeway and spend time in Target, and that was our home. And the saddest day of my life is my wife's birthday. I look in my wallet, and there's $20. I can't afford to buy her birthday cake because we won't have any food. So I bought her a little cupcake, and a Target employee gave us a little candle. And we walk out, and I'm feeling so defeated, right? Because I was at the top of my game, and I made one change to go to a state where I thought I'm going to find the best job, and I'm not finding anything. And it's amazing. We saw this abandoned shopping cart, and there was a Target bag in it, so I was curious, and I peeked into it. And it was almost as if an angel had left us food. There was Oreo cookies, there was chocolate, and that became the highlight of our, and I said, I don't want anyone ever to experience something like this. And that's what made me so passionate, is what did I not know about HR then that I need to learn? And basically, that's what made me so passionate. Your typical career coach might come from the HR field, it might come from someone that's making a career change. This physically touched my life.
And so then you went to work ultimately with Microsoft.
Yeah, I mean, I ended up turning my situation around in California, got a really good job, then physically came to Washington, got a job at Microsoft, and because I had learned the game, I never was in the job market again. I basically knew how to play my cards right, and I wish I would have known those skills before, but maybe there was a reason that happened. But now I've turned that into, teachings that I go and teach basically to the public and say, how can I prevent you from ever experiencing what I experienced?
So in reality, I got to get this graphic up because it's a graphic of smiley faces that aren't really smiley faces, except for one that truly is. And this is what you're trying to get. We've experienced, you talked about it in 2006, it was fantastic. Things have changed. HR hiring changes since October 2008 to December 2010 that you'll need to know. What are the basic things? And I know we're not going to have enough time to get through all this stuff, but we'll do our best.
Well, the interesting thing is they have something called an applicant tracking system, basically, which is a large database. So if you go to Starbucks, you go to Microsoft, you go to Boeing, and you send your resume online, your resume goes into what's called an applicant tracking system. And that's always been there. That's how they've tracked Stan Emmert and what he's applied for and those kind of things. What's interesting, one of the changes that have happened, when we had to lay off all these recruiters because of the economy, we end up making the ATS more smarter. So it actually goes and physically starts profiling candidates. It looks for their LinkedIn profile. It looks to see if they have a Facebook profile, a Twitter, and it even Zillows their address. These are like some of the...
Whoa. Zillows their address?
Yeah.
Why is that?
They want to know where you live. They want to know if I have a company like Expedia, if their servers go down, they lose $300,000 a minute. If they have a critical server in Bellevue, Washington, and you live in Marysville, it will take you 45 minutes to get there. They can't lose that kind of money. So they're just going to eliminate looking at you as a possible candidate. Another company, a large software company in Redmond, Washington, said, I'm going to relocate some candidates over to the Bay Area in 9 months. I'm going to do a reorg, but I can't announce that today, but I know I'm going to reorg. If I look at your house and you're upside down on your home, I know from past experience that you're not willing to relocate even if I pay for relocation because you have a mortgage to take care of. So why even look at you because you're upside down on your house? I mean, it's amazing stuff that they're doing with our address today and making pre-hiring decisions. If I have two candidates side by side, I'm going to pick the most stable candidate, the one that lives closest to me, the one that has a better, home equity than someone that maybe is going to demand high salary because they got to recuperate on their investment and is probably not going to be as agile enough to move with me.
That's scary.
Very scary. I mean, how would you ever know this kind of stuff? So when you asked the earlier question, does someone need a career consultant? Maybe not, but if they had one, they would know some of this stuff and realize how to optimize their search much more effective.
We only have 3 minutes left, and there's some couple of things I've got to get to. In other shows, we'll talk about specific Puget Sound employer recruiting techniques. Does online first hurt? Hiring blacklist. We're going to come back to that one for sure. But you said it, LinkedIn. I have heard you talk before, and you said that LinkedIn is one of the most important resources for you. How so?
It really is. 92 million professionals are on LinkedIn. Every single Fortune 500 CEO, the president of our country, your former bosses, your future bosses, good number of people are on LinkedIn. LinkedIn not only gives you the ability to find people, it also gives you the ability to see who knows who. So if you're trying to get a connection to Starbucks, you would be shocked to find out that, wow, I didn't know my neighbor knows 10 people over there. Had you not had LinkedIn, unless the conversation came up, you would have never known that. So not only LinkedIn shows you people, also shows the web of relationships. And that's one of the most effective uses of LinkedIn, is finding out who knows people so you can get the right introductions to the right people.
So why don't I just have Facebook, same thing?
Facebook shows people's friends, but it's limited. I mean, LinkedIn physically shows the 6 degrees of separation. It literally shows who knows who, that knows who, and ultimately the right decision makers. You can search by company, so you can type in Starbucks, I'm looking for a particular hiring manager, and it will show you in your network, here's the 5 people you know that can introduce you to that individual. Including if you saw a job opening, it will say, here's the 5 people you know that can get you in front of this HR person.
So if I get connected up through LinkedIn, because it's a professional resource, but then over on Facebook I'm talking with my friends about how funny it is that I scammed this company to be able to get this job, that's probably not a good thing, huh?
Puget Sound Business Journal had an article of someone going on Twitter and saying, I just got this job offer from Cisco. The money is good, but I'm not really excited. I don't think it's going to be a good position for me. Cisco has keyword alerts on their company. A hiring manager sends an email to him and says, I'm curious who just extended you a job offer, because I don't think that's the type of talent we're looking for. He took it down within minutes, and so was the job offer revoked. So he literally cut his destiny short by not being careful on what he was writing on the internet.
So when parents say to their teenagers, don't be dumb and put dumb things up on Facebook, then career counselors are being parents to job seekers and saying, don't put dumb things on Facebook.
I challenge our audience right now, go on search.twitter.com, type in the word unemployed, type in the word Tacoma, type in the word Seattle, and you will find people's pictures in their underwear. They'll be smoking inappropriate drugs. They'll be bad-mouthing their employers. They'll be ranting, and they'll be also have a status of I'm job searching.
Wow, with that, we got to close the show. If you're going to want to learn how to get a job in Seattle, you're going to have to stay tuned for the next time we come back to Paul Anderson and how to get a job in Seattle. We'll see you then.